Atheist Alliance International Podcast.
I don't make this stuff up.
You know, if you put Jesus Christ first, that he'll look after all your bills.
It's not fake, it's faith.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the AAI Podcast. I'm Jason Sylvester, aka Diogenes Mayberry. And this week we have Thomas Baer joining us. And Thomas is the founder and creator of the Off the Chain Atheists website. And he's living in Austin, and he's done quite a few things with the atheist community there. And so he's here to talk to us this week about what he's up to and his Facebook group. So thank you, Thomas, for joining us, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Great. It's lovely to have you on. So I was invited to your... Sorry?
Third time's the charm.
Yeah, we tried a couple times to have you on, but just issues. So you created Off the Chain Atheists, and you've got about a little over 4,000 members now. So maybe tell us a little bit what prompted you to create this page, and how did you grow to 4,000 members?
Well, if you'd asked me years ago if I'd be doing any of the things I'm doing now, really, in that regard, I'd wouldn't believe it. But it's a long story. I grew up in the Methodist church, but when I was young, I had questions, and questions, whether it was directed towards my mom or towards the youth pastor or whoever, I always got BS non-answers, such as who are we to question the Lord, or the pastor because he's a man of God, or God works in mysterious ways, and answers that didn't make sense. And then I would get told, go run along and play now, and playtime was far more important as a kid, so that was enough to distract me. Over the years, my questions and doubts came back and grew. And I still got the same BS non-answers from the clergy. So I started researching for myself, looking for answers. And one of the things I did was I researched various religions, how they formed, and I learned about how most religions they were built upon the beliefs of the people before them, and I eventually came to the realization that all religions were BS. That was my early 20s, I guess, probably 23, 24, when I fully shed the chains of religious lies. But I was a closet atheist up until 2016, I think 2015 or 2016, because I only knew 2, maybe 3 other atheists in person. And everyone else around me was, Christians. This is before I moved here to Austin. Austin is like an oasis in the middle of the Bible Belt. So in 2016, I joined Facebook solely to try to find a couple of friends from high school. Had no other interest in it at all. And I discovered some atheist groups, and discovered that there was a lot more people than I realized out there that thought that, like I did, that no longer believed, and so on. And I started making memes, and after a while, a few of my friends told me that some of my memes might make good shirt designs. And so that's when I started my Element X designs, and not too long after that, my Off the Chain Atheist storefronts for that. And around the same time, one of my friends suggested that maybe I make a group to go along with my pages and so on. So that's how the group got started. I didn't think it would ever, amount to be much of anything at the time. But it grew significantly the last couple of years, with a real growth after Atheist Day 2019. Atheist Day ATX 2019, the Capitol Rally event, was my greatest accomplishment in life thus far. My pride and joy. It was in along concurrence with the Atheist Republic's International Atheist Day. That was one of Navib's idea. I joined the ACA, the Atheist Community of Austin, just prior year in August September 2018. And when I heard about International Atheist Day, and so I asked the guys at the ACA, James E. Boone, he was the president at the time, if they knew about it, if they were planning anything for it. They didn't, so I told him what I knew about it, and he basically put the ball in my court to see if I could organize anything. This is the first event of any kind. Only thing I've ever organized before was a 6 to 7 person chess club in junior high. But I had an idea that I wanted something, at the Capitol grounds, state capitol. So the first thing I did was I Googled what it took to have an event on the Capitol grounds. And I found out the process it took, what papers I had to file, et cetera, what permissions I had to get, so on. And I was able to secure that. And with the help of Jamie and Eric Murphy and others at the ACA, we put on a hell of an event. It exceeded our expectations.
How many people turned up?
We expected about 60, 75 people, and the actual count ended up being around 150 to 175. Still a small event, but it was about twice the size of what we expected. And it was awesome. We had Aaron Raw, Eric Murphy, Seth Andrews, Noah Legends, Tracy Harris, a few. We had 10 speakers total for the Capitol Rally event. And then that evening, Seth Andrews talked on social media, something to do with social media. I can't remember what it was now. So it was fun. So yeah, I can't think of where to go with that after that.
Well, it was cool that you managed to get some of those guys. Aaron lives in Austin too, doesn't he? Or I know he's in Texas.
No, Aaron lives in Dallas.
In Dallas, okay.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm so nervous with it. I've done a few of these now before. My last couple were all good, but for some reason today I'm all.
Just a couple guys chatting. So, okay, and so you've also got a graphic artist. Is it a store that you actually have where you're doing atheist memes and graphic art?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got 2 storefronts. One of them is Element X Designs, and that's for everything that's non-atheist. It ranges from ganja to humor to geek to humanism, science, and stuff like that, whatnot. Quite a few different things. And then my other store, Off the Chain Atheists, is specifically for all my atheist designs. I've got 3 or 4 storefronts. My main 2 are on Spreadshirt.com, which is a direct-to-garment fulfillment company. Basically, it's direct-to-garment printing, and whenever somebody orders an item, whether it be 1 item or 10 items, they then print the items, ship it. They get their chunk first, and then each month I get, my change was the profit. Which is, if a sale originates from my actual storefront, I make $5 to $8 depending on what the product is. If it originates from their marketplace, which more of my sales come from their marketplace than my shops, then I only get 3 to 5. But it's something that occupies some of my time, keeps me busy some of the time. I enjoy doing it, and in a small way, it's a check off my bucket list that I never thought I'd have. The Element X Designs, there's actually a story behind that. That name I came up with when I was in high school, my junior and senior year in art class. At the time, after graduation, I went in the Army, and I was going to use the GI Bill to go to RIT up in New York, Rochester Institute of Technology, for both art and photography. My plan was to get a job at Kodak, which is practically next door to the college, and then work there for however many years. And then eventually I wanted to do something with a magazine like, Texas Monthly or some kind of magazine like that. My ultimate goal was I wanted to be both a National Geographic photographer, and I also wanted to have my own art or photography studio or company of some sort. After I ended up getting sick in basic training with bronchial pneumonia and was in the hospital for several weeks. I missed too much training, and they gave me entry-level separation, as if I'd never been in the Army to begin with. So there went GI Bill, there went RIT, and all that. So then after, the rest of my years, I guess up until, like I said, 2016, 2017, that just wasn't something I thought that I would accomplish in any form or fashion at all. I thought that was, just grasping at, air, basically after the life I've had. It's not bad, and many others have had it far worse, but we all have our own lives and issues we deal with. But now that I'm doing this, even though it's just, I average 15-ish to 20-ish a month in sales, it's just a little fair change, a couple packs of smokes, a bag of weed, but it's something. And it's mine, and it is using that name that I came up with in high school. So I say it's not a major, touchdown. It's not a touchdown from one end of the field to the other, or nothing like that, some miracle like that. But it's something, and I'm content with that.
And so your Off the Chain Atheist designs, are you having some luck with that, selling to the community?
Yeah, I have. I haven't really paid that close attention to which of my storefronts receive more sales, but I would guess it's pretty close to neck and neck, 50-50%. I'm not able to. I'm on disability, so SSI, SSDI income, so I'm not able to afford paid advertising of any kind on Facebook or Google or anywhere else, Instagram and whatnot. So I rely basically on word of mouth, people liking my pages or posts, sharing my pages and posts, and so on. So that's how to grow my audience. My numbers for my pages are far, far, far below where they should be for as long as I've had the pages. But again, it's just me doing it. I don't have a team like a lot of these other pages do. Like I've got a friend of mine, LeMay Cornelius. He's with the page he's with is in Our Lucid Dreams is the name of his page, but he has a whole team of people that work with him on it, and their followers, likes, and followers just exponentially blew up, like right off the bat. From the time he started it, and and it was far exceeded mine within just a month. So, but. Yeah. There's only so much one person can do.
Yeah, and some people just have that social media knack, and others don't. So some pages thrive, and some just kind of, So I mean, it's not everybody has. You have your graphic art skills. Other people have social media skills. So
right.
Not unexpected. So.
Yeah, and I've also done a few social media graphics for some friends. Both those are some that I just designed for fun of it for them, and said, "Hey, here, I made this for you." And others have had a couple of live requests. I've done 2 or 3 freelance gigs. The last one, I designed a business card for a friend of mine, and a business shirt design. Paid $100. So that's not. It's something.
Yeah.
So I'm content with it for now, at least.
In your Facebook group, I said you've got about 4,000 people. I see some fairly well respected names in the community are in your group as well. So
right.
And
thank you.
From what I've seen, you do a pretty good job in the group of keeping the peace. I know there's been a lot of contention in the movement over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of, as the people watching probably are aware, there's been a lot of fighting between sort of the regressive left, the woke atheists, and others. And you do a pretty good job of keeping the peace. You want everybody to get along in the group. And
with the group, I do have help. I've got 2 or 3 good friends of mine, Shannon Simmons, Sam Jensen, and another friend I just added as an admin recently. I can't remember who off the top of my head. So they're a great team to help me with. Sam is the admin of his own group, the Heisenberg Science Group. And he has a Facebook page as well. But when I first started when I started the group, the initial idea was like based on a friend of mine said, "Hey, why don't you start a group? You can post your stuff in and maybe build a community around it up." And it was at the time it kind of struck me as odd. I was like, "Well, okay, sure, there's another way to connect with friends." But since then, I've realized the power of networking and that community. Like I'm still in awe, really, the people I know, Aaron Ra and Seth Andrews, that not only do I know, I'm friends with, there's little old me, knowing these, pretty big name people are like, oh wow, it's yeah, I don't know, it brings me to silence because it leaves me speechless. So I'm like, wow, if somebody told me, 5-10 years ago, this is where I'd be at, what I would be doing. These are people I would know and in the circles I would be part of. I'd be like, yeah, right, whatever. It just goes to show you never know what's around the corner in life. Yeah.
Has Seth promoted your Off the Chain brand on his page, The Thinking Atheist?
No, he hasn't. I haven't asked him or any others to do that. Because with that, anytime I've gotten into something that would be, what's the word I'm looking for? Preferentialism. Somebody like Seth or Thomas Westbrook or whoever, if they were to promote my stuff, and not somebody else's, there'd be some could have issue with that. So it's an issue better, just not let happen to begin with.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but as I've said on previous shows, and we just launched a campaign this last week at AAI, one of the reasons I want to have people like you on is to try to give a voice, using the AAI platform to give a voice to up-and-comers and get them out to a wider international audience. And people like Seth and some of the other big name atheists, they already have all of the exposure they need. Everybody knows who they are, but there's a lot of voices that are coming up through the ranks, and we can only use a helping hand. So if I can
it's really awesome that you're doing that, and I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thomas Westbrook, I can't believe I forgot to mention him. He was one of the other speakers for the Atheist Day ATX. He is actually the very first YouTuber atheist activist that I became friends, accepted a friend request from me back in, let's say, late 2016 or so. This is when he was still traveling through Southeast or South Asia a bit. And so I've known him longer than anyone else.
For the international audience who might not know who he is, can you just
Thomas Westbrook, that's Holy Kool-Aid. He does animated videos, based on, and he does live stream also, but he is most known for his Holy Kool-Aid website and cartoons, stories, debunking the different Bible myths and so on.
So he's an animator?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he does the animation. So, but he also does live streams also as well. But he's most known for the Holy Kool-Aid. Yes, he is. He's still, for his Facebook profile, which has the picture that was used for Atheist Day, ATX 2019. And every time I see it, I get stoked. I was like, wow, that was the best day of my life.
Yeah,
really. So, and it was all possible through AACA. And luckily, I only live about 6 to 8 blocks away from the atheist community of Austin's little library and studio. And I'm dying for this COVID crap to end or loosen up to where we can meet in person again. I miss the weekly in-person community. Speaking of community, that's what I was started to say earlier about my Facebook group, Off the Chain Atheists. Is not too long after starting it, my position on it shifted from just a group to connect around my stuff, designs and whatnot, but I wanted it to be more than that. I wanted it to become more than just another atheist group, we're with mad atheists ranting and posting memes and whatnot. I wanted also to be a center for humanism, for activism, for community, for learning, and so on. I aspired, great things for it, and I'm surprised. I never would have thought would have gotten 4,000 members, but that was pretty cool. I even made a graphic for that. I can't remember what time it was, sometime last year.
Yeah.
When I hit 4,000, that was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah. And the learning section on your page is pretty cool too. And I'll put the links up for people so they can find it.
Awesome,
You're actually the person who asked me. So some people might know that I'm working on a new book on the history of secularism. You're actually the person that asked me to do a video for your page. It was something I hadn't even thought about. And the video was actually quite well received by the people I've sent it to. I know you said you liked it.
Yes, it is.
I sent it. Who did I send it? I sent it to another author. It was a professor who's written his own book on I believe he wrote a book on Spinoza, and I sent him the link, and he said, that's a really good idea, to help sort of promote your book by doing a video, and something they never thought about. So I'd like to thank you for that suggestion, because it probably never would have even occurred to me to have done something like that. So.
You're very welcome. I'm glad I could be of help to you.
Yeah. And you also introduced me to John Hammond as well.
Yeah.
It was about a month ago, I think we had John on to talk about his graphic novel. John and I are actually partnering up. We're going to do a few memes together. I have no artistic talent. I get ideas all the time, but I've always been looking for an artist to help out. So John's been working on our first one. It's a fairly detailed one, so he's been working on it for a while. I think he's almost done, so we're going to have that come out probably within the next couple of weeks. We're actually going to run a contest around it, because we're actually mashing several different atheist memes together into sort of a collage, kind of like a Where's Waldo, like find the atheist meme.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll have that out in the next couple of weeks. So
awesome! Definitely keep me posted on that. I look forward to that. Yeah, I've known John for a few years now. He's one of my consider. Prior to social media, I did not believe that you could actually form real friendships, purely online. And I've been pleasantly, disproven. I've got 3 people on my list that I consider close friends, and we still haven't gotten the chance to meet in person yet. Yeah. But I never thought that possible one time, but I'm a convert.
I've had people I've been talking to. I met them in like online trivia rooms like 20 years ago, and we're still friends and still talk. And we've never met, because it was like a global chat, global trivia chat.
Awesome.
Even my wife and I met. It was, we talked for a year and a half before we even met. So
cool. That's great. That was another one of the great things about Atheist Day, ATX. I got to meet about, I'd say just under 10 to 12 people that I was friends with online. People came from out of the state. We even had a guy from Canada. This phrase 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
The guy from Canada that I met that was good friends, lived in the same place as one of my other Facebook friends, Rob Ace, in Edmonton. And they're both members of the Edmonton Society of Atheists. So that was a kind of 6 degrees of separation. I was like, hey, I met you. You just came down here for Canada for this event, and just happened you came from the same place as this friend of mine. So that was pretty cool. We had 2 or 3 people come from England. Their entire visit to the States was centered around that event. But not only did I get to meet a few of my online friends in person, I also made twice that many more friends and connections. I love networking.
I think the online community is especially important for atheists, especially ones who are living either in cultures or in families or even just in regions, such as like the Bible Belt in the U.S., where there's a strong religious atmosphere, and
or worse, over in the Middle East and Islamic countries where
and so I think it's very important.
Nation, they face threats of bodily harm and death.
Yeah, and to know that there's a community out there of like-minded freethinkers, I think is kind of a mental lifeline for a lot of these people. 20 years ago, I lived in Kansas, so I'm well aware of the sort of the Midwest Bible Belt mentality in the U.S. and the strong evangelical sense. I had coworkers, oh, you should come to church with me this Sunday. I'm like, yeah, thank you. I don't feel like bursting into flames.
Right.
But I think especially in the sort of stronger Muslim countries.
Yeah, that's something I've posted about many, not specifically on the online community. I've posted specifically more about in person. How the one thing I think the atheist community is lacking is the in-person communities. Because we're so small and fractured. To me, whenever I posted about this, I'd have people atheists reacting, well, that's too much like church, would be their answer. So many of them said that or something almost just like that. And I was like, wait, religion
there are
does
those atheist churches as well. There's a few of those, not many, but there's a few. So
right.
Yeah.
But it's only, I don't know, people think that religion has a monopoly on community. Community came about before religion.
Yeah.
Just because, and that's what people don't understand. That was the last time that I did try a church. I was, after high school, I was in and out of church, mostly out, unless I was going with a girlfriend's family, or it was a particularly, down part of my life, and I was not, maybe God's the answer, so I'd go try church again. And the last time I did, I realized that it wasn't a relationship with God I was looking for, a relationship with Jesus. It was a relationship with other people, that community, that sense of bonding. Yeah. And we desperately need that. We need more people. We've got, like, for example, Atheists Helping the Homeless, which started here in Austin back in, I think, 2009. I can't remember the name of the guy, a different line, that started it. And it's now in several different cities, several different states have chapters of it. So, and we have Austin Humanistic Org. We have little small community organizations here and there, but the only people that really know about them are us. They're atheists. We're the only ones that really know about them, except maybe somebody that drives the car by and sees them and doesn't give them any second thought.
But someone like you, back in 2016, was looking for a community, can go online and find that there's a community when they're ready to seek that out. So
right. But I think it's important that we work on building that community and having a more visible public face, because, let's face it, when we're not in the media much, but when we are, it's generally negative, the negative stereotypes, we're a bunch of, people that are mad at God or hate God. And how can you be mad at something that you don't believe in or hate something you don't believe in?
Yeah.
It's not God's that I have a problem with, it's his fan club. But
I've got an interview coming up in the next couple of weeks with one of the founding members of my local atheist community, who was he's an ex-Jehovah's Witness,
cool.
And he came to our community looking for that sort of that bond, like what he was leaving behind.
Right.
As many people probably know, Jehovah's Witnesses are one of the sects that practice disfellowship. So by him coming out of the atheist closet, he essentially lost his entire family who no longer speak to him. So having that free thought community was quite important to him.
Yeah, it's a lifeline, really.
Yeah.
Like I said, and it's not just to build up our public image to combat those negative stereotypes. It's more than that. It's because that community is needed to begin with. Not just to combat what general populace thinks of us. But because we need to be there for each other, support each other.
Yeah. I did a talk in 2015. I was in the Philippine Atheists, had an international conference. They actually hosted the general meeting for, at the time, now it's Humanist International, but at the time it was IHEU, and they hosted the annual meeting there. And then they had the next day, they had their annual conference, and I got to speak at that. And
Cool.
one of the senses I got, one of the things I talked about in my presentation was the Philippine atheists actually ran, I don't know if they're still doing it, but they were running free medical clinics. So as many people know, the Philippines is a very strongly Catholic country.
Yeah.
And at the time they had, I think it was only been about a year, they had just passed the reproductive health bill to provide government funding on providing information and family planning in heavily Catholic Philippines. And the Philippine atheists were running free medical clinics that would provide kind of family planning counseling as well as other medical issues. And I thought this is a great public outreach campaign to really show these people, hey, the atheists are here, they're in your community, and they're not immoral people. And here they're doing all these great things like they're funding schools, they're doing these medical clinics. I thought that was an absolutely fantastic idea. I tried to raise a little money in my own local community. We got a little bit, but atheism is not a big hot button issue where I live. So, or at the time where I lived, it's not a religious society, so it's not a big issue there. I mean, most people there, it's just more of a social club to come out and drink once a month. It's not really activist oriented. So
I'm friends with Gabriel Novak, I think is his last name, and a couple other admins of the I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right or not, Philippines Kosher Atheist Galera. Yeah, I'll put it in chat. Maybe you know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, I'll put up a link later when we had the video.
It's a Facebook group, and I'll let him post in my group. That's one thing I've got to, in case I don't know if you did already or not, but if you didn't, there is a pinned announcement in the group for atheist activists and content creators and whatnot, such as yourself, to introduce yourself and your channels and whatnot. And as I tell everyone that joins my group, if you are an activist or content creator of any kind, blogger or anything, feel free to post your materials and links in my group anytime. Like I said, networking is key. Yeah. That's something I've learned in the last couple of years, just how powerful networking can be.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to get. I mean, back in 2006, sort of when Richard Dawkins, the whole new atheism movement was really strong then, and you had the Four Horsemen, and now it seems to be that sort of initial. I think society was ready for new atheism at that point. It had been silenced for so long, and now it seems to have waned a little bit. There's lots of atheist groups and people out there, but I think it's kind of lost a lot of that impetus that it first had back in 2006 with all of the books that were coming out from people, and it seems to have, like I said, it seems to have fractured. The movement seems to have fractured and sort of cannibalizing itself a little bit right now with certain elements, the woke atheists. So, but I think there's still need for content creators to be known.
Right. It doesn't help that the atheist community has had a few different events that have caused, fracturing within the groups. The kerfuffle a couple of years ago with what was his name?
Elevator Gate.
No, Rationality Rules, and he's I can't remember his name, but his channel is Rationality Rules. He's a English YouTuber activist, and that's his YouTube channel, Rationality Rules. And I got to meet him. He came to Austin after a Faithless Forum in 2019. I think it was 2019. And after Faithless Forum in Dallas, a bunch of them came to the ACA here in Austin, so I got to meet some of them. But there was a thing with him where some comments that he'd made in some videos were perceived by some people to be anti-transgender, which was never his intent to begin with and so on. But there was a whole, fracturing of the community over that. And then, like, come on, we got enough people tearing each other down in this world as it is, and we've got, all the negative stigmas, that society has of us, that we're having to fight. We can't afford this. We need to come together, and not be bickering and biting at each other's heels.
Yeah. Well, similar to what you mentioned with rationality rules, that Richard Dawkins earlier this year, he didn't make an anti-trans comment. He just said, we should be discussing about, if someone says, I identify as this, I identify as that, we could be at least discussing it. And then that one group, rescinded his humanist award. And then there in Austin, Matt Dillahunty tweeted something about, you're an embarrassment, just retire. And I thought that was really counterproductive of Matt to say that. It seemed to me to be it seemed like Matt was virtue signaling. And that whole part of the woke thing, and it really turned me off. So
yeah, I used to think highly of Matt, but we won't go there. There's no need to. There's enough trash talk as there is there. So
yeah.
But Matt is Matt. We all have our faults. Whether we want to admit them or not. And whether they're seen or not. So, no.
Okay. All right. So let's maybe start wrapping up. So, is there anything you'd like to finish off with, and what you'd like to tell people about your Off the Chain Atheist, your group, your designs?
Well, nothing really. The only thing I can think of is I want to stress how important I think it is that we work on building community, and not just online, but trying even the atheist community of Austin started off as just a monthly little meeting of less than a dozen people. So you never know what 4 or 5 people meeting at the coffee shop each month, could lead to, given enough years. But the goal wasn't necessarily, to build these large communities, to have a visible presence and being active in our community, not just with ourselves, but be an active part of our community in a positive way, thereby demonstrating that being good doesn't require a belief in God. That we're just like everybody else, just because we don't believe, in something without evidence, it doesn't make us bad people.
Right. Yeah, I interviewed Randolph Richardson, who was president of Canadian Atheists a couple weeks ago. One of Randolph's main goals is to normalize atheism because of what's going on, this sort of perception that we are an immoral people, that we need to normalize that we're not bad people, that we're doing good things, we're good without God. So yeah, I think that is a big part of what needs to happen globally.
Right. As I say, one of my friends, Pasta Mike, and I think Austin Mills is part of it too. I think Austin Mills is the Tang, the Atheist Network group, but Pasta Mike has the Facebook group and page Normalizing Atheism. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but
he's familiar.
He just started a group within the past few months. I think he's got a YouTube channel also. But it's funny, whenever he first came up, when I first saw it, I kind of laughed to myself because I was like, I've been posting on and off about this topic, trying to improve, our image, and the perception of us is for a while. Long before anybody put a normalizing atheism term to it, I was trying to, promote that.
Right.
That's another thing. My social media has become not just a way to connect with friends and all, but I try to use it, to some good. I use it for I post all kinds of different activism, whether it be, stuff on global warming and environmentalism or race and inequality or anything. I try to use it, for different types of activism. I wouldn't call myself an activist, but, minor league. what I do,
we're all doing what we can.
And I share the big guy stuff.
Yeah. Well, we're all doing what we can to try to normalize it and make things better and bring the community together. So thank you for your efforts and what you're doing and the community you're building. And thanks again also for coming on today and talking about what you do and the events you've done. And we look forward to seeing what else is coming in the future, new events you're going to host in Texas, and some of the new designs you'll come up with, and maybe you'll some of our global audience will be inspired to do some. Maybe they've been wanting to do a graphics and haven't had the courage to do it, and maybe we'll take a page from your book. Yeah,
speaking of inspiration, Thomas Westbrook, all of the other Thomas Westbrook, all the other different activists, they're all an inspiration to me. But he was the first one that was a major inspiration to me, and to start using my design work for because I saw that when I first looked for atheist apparel, I found almost none out there. And what I did find was a lot of the repeat same stuff, and no offense to them, kind of mundane things. And so I wanted to try to fill that, emptiness a little bit as best of my ability, with some stuff that's creative and unique. Made designs specifically for outspoken atheist minds.
Okay. Well, I'll put the links to your platforms in the description. So those of you watching, you'll be able to go to Thomas's storefronts and landing pages, and you can check it out. Maybe you can join Off the Chain Atheists as well, and hopefully we can
love to have it in
our community.
Yeah. Thank you again for having me on. I appreciate it. Yeah, sorry, I was so nervous at first. Like I said, I have no idea why.
No need to be nervous. Just having a chat. So. All right. Well, thanks again for coming on. And as I said to everybody, you'll be able to find the links in the description to Thomas's store and his page. And thanks again for coming. And I guess we'll wrap it up here. And thanks everybody for watching. And we'll see you all next week. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks for listening, and don't forget we're on YouTube, so follow us on YouTube. Just search for Atheist Alliance International, and please subscribe and hit that notification bell. We're also on all of your favourite podcast platforms, so make sure that you follow us on there as well. See you next time.